me what it was like shooting this. You guys shot it before the pandemic, right?
Weird, right? Yeah, we shot it last year around summertime in 2019. And yeah, there was no sort of evidence or any inclination that any of this stuff was going to happen. And the similarities are insane. My character's stuck in his apartment for 40 something days, quarantining, you know, and it's, yeah, we had no idea that that this was going to happen, but I'm sorry that you had to watch it alone.
Yes, for those out there, I recommend watching it with somebody. But you know what's so wild? I was thinking, like, before this, when did we even hear the word pandemic? Like, very rarely. How did the writers know?
I don't know. I don't think they did. I hope not. Maybe I hope this wasn't like the catalyst, like the first thing that like put it out into the universe, you know? But there's no way.
Yeah. Your character is alone, obviously, running low on supplies. He's losing his mind. Was there any relatability for you on that? Did you go back to maybe, I don't know. I mean, I related to it.
Yeah, I mean, I really tried to find a lot of similarities in my character. So to get deep and personal a little bit, I've been acting since I was about 6 years old, and I knew that if I were to become successful in my career, I was going to have an also private life. And when eventually that did happen, I reclused myself a little bit. You know, at first it was really cool being recognized for everything that I did, and then I got a little depressed about it, you know, in a weird way, and it was hard for me to appreciate it a lot of the time, and I became pretty reclusive. And so I stayed alone, and I didn't really reach out to anybody when I needed help. And so I really related to that. You know, my character couldn't reach out to people. You know, he was kind of stuck there and had no means of reaching out to people. You know, all cell phone connections lost. But I self-quarantined for a little bit. But I'm out of that. And I did pull a lot of just the loneliness, you know, feeling alone. And my mother passed away about 6 years ago. So I was able to relate that for him losing pretty much everybody in his life, you know? So it was a lot. It was really personal, big time.
I'm so sorry about your mom. I read that, and October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So, it's a good time to reflect and to give back to the cause. I just got done actually interviewing Elizabeth Hurley on that. So
really,
it's really important. But going back to how you mentioned you were a child star, I had that in my mind to ask you, because growing up in Hollywood and starting off in the spotlight, I mean, is that something you wanted to do as a child? You wanted to pursue acting? And what was that like for you, just knowing that you were a known face?
So yeah, so my dad is an actor and a writer, and was before I was born. And when my mother was born with when my mother was pregnant with my little brother, when my mother was born with my little brother, my dad would have to babysit me, and he was working on film sets, and so I would spend hours. You know, there's like the average hour you spend on a film set if you're a filming actor is like 12 hours. And so I was with him the entire time, and I loved it. I didn't complain once. Apparently this is the story. I don't remember this part, but I didn't complain. I remember pretty vividly hanging out with like a lot of the actors and sitting at the director's chairs and watching the films, and like all the takes of the scenes. And I remember really like enjoying it and not feeling too out of place. And my dad was like, maybe there's something here. And so he took me to an audition when I was 5. I hated it. And then about a year later, when I was 6, I guess I came to him and I was like, hey, I think I want to try this again. And then ever since then, I started booking stuff and working pretty professionally as a young kid. And my first experience of being recognized, I didn't like it for some reason. I was 10 or 11 years old, and I think I was where was I? I was at some theme park. It may have been in my hometown, Six Flags, Magic Mountain. And somebody was like, hey, are you the kid from Maid in Manhattan? And I was like, no. And then there was another time where I was like shopping with my mom somewhere, and this woman's like the cashier was like, you look very familiar. And I was like, yeah, I get that a lot. So I was kind of like, it gave me anxiety for some reason. And I'm not sure why. There's probably something deeper that I can probably ask my therapist about. But yeah, for a long time, it was a little weird for me. So I grew up in Santa Clarita, and I have a very, very, very tight friend group there. And it's a pretty small town. And so they really helped keep me level-headed in the world of Hollywood. And I didn't quite expand to Hollywood until I was around 18 or 19 years old. That's when I made the move from Santa Clarita. And so I feel like I had a pretty good foundation for keeping a level head while growing up in Hollywood.
Yeah, so that's kind of how you were able to, with your mental health and adjust and now, keep pursuing your dream. I have to go back to Maid in Manhattan because it is always on TV. When it comes on your TV, do you stop and watch it, or are you like still a little bit like, I don't know, what is the feeling?
No, for some reason I've never related to people who don't like to watch themselves, and I'm not sure why. I really became, I think, a better actor from watching myself. On Teen Wolf, we would have viewings every single week, and if we were like as a big group of the crew, or if I was just by myself, I would watch the show. And I would grow from it. I would see things that I didn't want to do, and I was like, okay, I got to fix that. But with Maid in Manhattan, I've had Apple TV for the last, I don't know. I haven't had cable in so long, so I haven't been able to see when Maid in Manhattan is on. But I never shied away from it. My dad always texts me when it's on, and I haven't seen it in a little while, but it would be nice to check it out. But yeah, I always checked it out, and that movie is on a lot. It's like on more
a lot. Like I'll just be clicking through. It's always on. What are your memories of working with J-Lo of that time, during that time?
Oh my God. Yeah. So J-Lo was a huge name, has been since like before I was born. And so that was my first, so I worked with Arnold Schwarzenegger when I was 8, and I was like, what in the world? Like it was because, Terminator was such a big thing for me as a kid. And so that was my first experience into meeting big famous people. And then J-Lo, I was like, what the hell? There's no way. First, I did an audition with her. And I remember being very starstruck, but also not really caring, and I was just confident at a young age. I don't know why. I was just I'm just going to do my thing and see if I get cast as the role. And then when I got cast, I was even more confident. It just became a very easy work environment. I had no sort of nervousness on set. And I think it's partly due because of how cool she was. She was super welcoming and warming. She was very warm to me. And she bought me an Xbox. She just made me feel like part of the family. And it was awesome. There was no sort of, on her end, there was no reason for me to be anxious or nervous, and she was really
she totally knew how to get you on her side with the Xbox. That's for a little kid.
I loved it too. Oh my God, I believe it. So cool.
I love it. You have talked about being sort of typecast as the ethnic role, or maybe always playing a Latino or a Hispanic character. The landscape is definitely changing as far as that is happening. We're seeing more roles opening for, you don't have to be white or Latin to play a certain role. How has it been navigating that for you now in 2020? Are things changing?
Yeah, definitely. Aiden is kind of in Alone. He's not really any specific ethnicity. So yeah, I think things are changing. When I first got Teen Wolf, it was very much okay, the lead of the show is ethnic. We have something really good here. There was very much that aspect of filmmaking where where producers and networks did try to kind of hire ethnic people to bridge that barrier and bridge that gap and break down that barrier. But now it seems like it's kind of leveling out. The playing field's leveling out, and most of the stuff that I've gotten cast for lately hasn't been too ethnic, but or at least based around that. But there are a couple of things that I still want to do ethnicity-wise, and give back to my community. Because I always think that's really cool. My mom was a big advocate of that. And at first I didn't know what she was talking about. I'm like, I'm tired of being typecast as a little kid. But she was like, no, you're giving back to your community. And so there's always that aspect in my head when I do read for roles that are Latino based. And but I still
Absolutely.
can't really speak too good of Spanish. I can't really speak too good of English either, apparently. But Spanish is something I still need to work on. So
Well, I'm Colombian and my dad tells me the same thing and I cannot speak Spanish either. So we're on the same page there.
okay, that makes me feel better.
So you speak about Teen Wolf. You also you auditioned for another wolf character,
I did.
Twilight. Tell
Yeah.
me about, and you knew Taylor Lautner from just going to auditions?
Yeah, I knew Taylor Lautner from going to a bunch of auditions. He and I were constantly reading for the same roles, and I would see him at these. And then, as an actor, you kind of like you'll see somebody and then see them again and again, and eventually you're like, okay, I'm gonna go say hi to this kid because he's in every single one of my auditions. So we kind of built somewhat of a relationship. Not really, it was just very much in passing. And he also went to my college. I saw him, I think, way after Twilight had filmed. I saw him, or like during the time Twilight was filming. I can't remember, but I saw him at my college one time, and I've seen him since then every now and then, and he's just always been the sweetest kid in the world, And I'm very happy that he got his werewolf and I got my werewolf. I'm happy the way that things went.
It all worked out. Do you remember auditioning for Twilight? Because at the time, it was like sort of known, but nobody thought it was going to blow up into what it became.
Yeah, no, I definitely do. I remember one specific audition I had with Kristen Stewart, and I was a huge fan of hers because of the Panic Room. I loved the Panic Room with her and Jodie Foster. I was kind of in love with her. Like I had my school tutor on Maid in Manhattan was her school tutor in the Panic Room. So we had the same teacher, and I felt like this connection with her, and I was like, had this big crush on her. And then I was like 16, I grew up and I auditioned with her, and I just remember that pretty vividly. And I had a crush on her.
I think I have a crush on Kristen too, actually. She's like so cool, so just confident. Going back to Alone, I wanted to ask you about it's sort of like this roller coaster of a ride. What was it like shooting those action scenes and like just kind of, you were climbing up and down buildings. Was that mostly you? Tell me about that.
Yeah, it was super intense. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to do the project, was to get my ass kicked. And I really wanted to have that experience. I did a bunch of stunts during Teen Wolf, but nothing to this extent. There were no pads on the ground. I was up 6 floors, and I would either have to scale the buildings, jump from one balcony to the other on the top floor, or just jump straight down. And I was hooked up to harnesses, and it was pretty intense, like standing on the edge. It doesn't seem like that high. When you're looking up from it or down from it, it does seem pretty high, but when you're up there, it's like, oh my God, it's a lot of anxiety. But I did it, and I really did kick my ass, and it beat me up, and I wanted that so bad, and I loved.
So why did you want that? You were just ready?
I don't know. I'm just all for experiences, and I hadn't had that type of experience filming yet. I've been used to stunts my whole entire filming career almost, but this one was just another level. And it was all about my character, and I wanted that was going to kick my butt enough alone as it is, because it's all about you. And so you have to mentally and emotionally be drained, but then physically also. And I just really wanted to have that experience, and I'm very proud of it. It was pretty scary sometimes.
You killed it. You were so badass. Like the whole time I was like, it was amazing. Before I let you go, I gotta ask you, because you have become really one of those Hollywood hunks that the girls are after. Cool. So are you dating in quarantine? Are you single? What can you tell us, Tyler?
Yeah, I'm single, and I don't know what the future holds. I'm not really worrying about that right now. I'm very much in a relationship with myself, and I find that to be the most important part of my life right now, or at least one of them. But the door is always open. I love women. I love dating, and I would love to share my love for myself with somebody else. That's what I've realized lately, is that in other relationships, past relationships, I've been kind of like trying to have them love me and kind of fill a void that I had. But now I'm filling the void with myself, and I love myself. And the true essence of loving somebody is sharing your love with somebody else.
So important.
Yeah, instead of having them be like, fill this void and like cling to them, which I've done in the past. So
We all have, Tyler.
Yeah, we
It's
gotta learn.
okay. You live and you learn.
Exactly.